Around the world, natural and man-made disasters affect the lives of millions of people each year. While disasters differ in scope and intensity, the impulse to help is universal. The U.S. Agency for International Development, through the Office of U.S. Foreign Disaster Assistance, provides emergency humanitarian relief while promoting disaster preparedness and risk reduction activities worldwide. During a disaster response, USAID works closely with host governments, UN agencies, and non-governmental organizations to coordinate relief efforts. Other agencies in the U.S. government, such as the Department of Defense, support USAID to ensure immediate life-saving assistance. With emergency relief supplies and staff strategically positioned around the world, USAID is ready to launch a humanitarian response the moment disaster strikes. In Latin America and the Caribbean, 5 regional advisors and support staff at the regional office in San Jose, Costa Rica, are available for immediate deployment for disaster response and risk reduction activities. Another 21 disaster management specialists are strategically located throughout the region to help monitor local conditions and coordinate disaster response efforts. The most frequent types of disasters in this region are tropical storms, including hurricanes, and associated floods and landslides. Between 2003 and 2008, USAID provided more than $155 million in response to the devastating effects of tropical storms in the region. Each emergency is different, and USAID tailors its humanitarian assistance to the unique conditions of each disaster. In many cases, the regional advisors rely on NGO partners to implement USAID's assistance programs on the ground. In late October 2007, heavy rains caused widespread flooding across southern Mexico. Entire cities and towns were flooded. The disaster affected more than 1 million people and caused significant damage to infrastructure and crops. Knowing the importance of acting fast, USAID immediately dispatched an emergency team to help assess damages. USAID provided funds for the local purchase of shelter materials for displaced families, and gave funds to the Mexican Red Cross for the purchase and distribution of disaster relief supplies, such as personal hygiene items, kitchen utensils, mosquito nets, and water containers. In other responses, such as following Category 5 Hurricane Felix that struck Nicaragua in late 2007, USAID airlifted emergency relief supplies from its warehouse in Miami, Florida, to the isolated northeast coast for distribution to affected families. USAID coordinated closely with the U.S. military and local humanitarian organizations to deliver nearly 165 metric tons of relief supplies and third-party donations to 37 isolated communities. These supplies included food, plastic sheeting for temporary roofs and shelters, blankets, water containers, and hygiene kits. In Haiti, in late 2008, USAID deployed a disaster assistance response team to coordinate the U.S. government's more than $30 million humanitarian response to the emergency created by the effects of a series of intense storms. Working closely with the United Nations system and other international donors, USAID disaster experts conducted assessments to determine priority needs among affected populations and ensure the delivery of vital supplies. Following the initial response, USAID coordinated programs to restore lives and livelihoods, including cash for work cleanup activities. These activities empowered affected communities to participate in their own recovery. Employing nearly 50,000 people, these programs help clear the mud and debris from the streets of Gonaives after the floodwaters receded, as well as from vital public buildings such as the city's main hospital. Hurricanes and floods can destroy not only people's homes and communities, but also their livelihoods. To help ensure a brighter future for affected families, USAID also supports livelihood restoration projects. After Hurricane Felix destroyed millions of acres of forest and croplands in Nicaragua, USAID funded a program to provide seeds for rice and other local crops so that area farmers could begin to restore what was lost in the storm. As these crops matured, the farmers and their families renewed their hopes for a brighter, more productive future. On August 15, 2007, an 8.0 magnitude earthquake devastated southern Peru. More than 500 people were killed and several 100,000 were left homeless. Within 24 hours, a USAID emergency team was on the ground, leading efforts to provide shelter and distribute blankets, food, and water to the displaced population. As with all earthquakes, shelter was a top priority of the emergency response. USAID-supported programs provided temporary shelter for thousands of affected families, while the construction of new houses was underway. And in a program designed to build back better, specialists trained masons and other construction workers in affected communities on how to build new, earthquake-resistant houses using improved adobe. The new construction methods meant families were able to rebuild their homes at an affordable cost by combining traditional adobe brick construction with earthquake-resistant polymer mesh reinforcement techniques for safe, healthy houses. Those who have been trained in the improved adobe techniques return to their villages to spread this knowledge to others in the community. Through USAID's relief programs, families remain together and communities intact, allowing those affected to begin restoring what was lost in the earthquake. Disasters can strike at any time, and USAID remains ready to respond. At the same time, USAID, through the Office of U.S. Foreign Disaster Assistance, is empowering governments and local communities to better prepare for, reduce, mitigate, and respond to disasters in order to save lives and alleviate suffering. In Latin America and the Caribbean, USAID focuses on building local disaster management capabilities, facilitating private sector involvement in disaster assistance, providing volcano and earthquake monitoring assistance, promoting a tsunami early warning system, improving forest fire management and flood forecasting, developing wind hazard maps, and supporting emergency simulations and drills. Particular attention is given to strengthening disaster risk reduction curriculum in schools and universities. In Honduras, USAID supports a program designed to enhance safety and disaster awareness among school children through classwork, emergency drills, and innovative methods such as puppet shows and other creative activities. To highlight the connection between caring for the natural environment and mitigating the effects of disasters, USAID promotes activities such as collecting trash in watershed areas and planting trees. USAID also works with disaster management agencies and local communities to provide specialized technical training to first responders and emergency response officials. Urban search and rescue courses enhance countries' capabilities to locate and rescue survivors in collapsed buildings and other structures, and provide immediate life-saving medical care. Training in the Incident Command System promotes interagency cooperation and helps first responders, such as police, firefighters, medical personnel, Red Cross, and other aid workers, to collaborate more effectively during emergency responses. Recognizing that incidents with hazardous materials are on the rise, USAID partnered with Costa Rica's National Firefighters Corps and the University of Costa Rica to create an intensive course for firefighters on how to respond to these types of emergencies. The course is now part of USAID's Regional Disaster Assistance Program. Since it was established in 1989, this program has provided training and technical assistance to more than 50,000 firefighters, Red Cross workers, medical personnel, teachers, and emergency management officials in Latin America and the Caribbean. Many of these individuals have assumed leadership roles in national disaster management organizations and now conduct training with minimal assistance from USAID. When nations can effectively manage their own risks, human and economic investments are safeguarded and become part of a country's sustainable development. Disasters can strike without warning and in an instant shatter the lives of millions. With the knowledge that every minute counts, USAID channels hundreds of millions of dollars each year in response to overseas disasters. No two disaster responses are ever the same, but in every response, USAID emergency programs save lives, alleviate suffering, and reduce the economic and social impact of the disaster, paving the way for longer-term recovery. USAID's disaster risk reduction programs reduce vulnerability to natural hazards and build local capacity to respond to the disasters that do occur. Ultimately, USAID minimizes the long-term impact of disasters by helping governments to respond and communities to rebuild.